and welcome to Dabbling in Journals. Today I finally found some time to work on my watercolour landscape. If you've watched any of the previous videos in this series, you'll know that I am not a watercolour artist. I'm trying to learn to watercolour and I'm sharing that experience with you. And some of you are following along, so I'm so sorry that it's taken me a little while to get back to this. However, I couldn't help but smile this morning because my Leisure Painter magazine arrived, and this, it says, is the UK's best-selling Learn to Paint magazine, and my partner gifted me a subscription. Now, if you watched me start this watercolour landscape, you'll know that I was having a go at sky and clouds. I designed a composition with a signpost leading off down to a path. I've got some fencing, I've got a stile, I'm going to have a tree here and a bush here. I didn't really know what I was doing, but I just thought it would give me an opportunity to practice and learn. But as I said, my magazine came this morning, and you wouldn't believe what they've demonstrated in this magazine this month. And this is the October 2021 magazine. Nothing other than a stile with a signpost. I couldn't believe it when I flicked to this. So this is going to be so helpful for me because this painter, who is called Paul Clark, he has a website, I'll link it in my description, and he has a YouTube channel, and he's demonstrated this painting in this magazine. And there's lots of techniques for us to try. He's using salt here, he's using tissue paper, he's using a knife to scratch out highlights. Sounds a bit scary, but I might give it a go. And yeah, I just thought how lovely. But the other thing that made me laugh, if you watch my channel or you watch my other videos on my channel, look what they are demonstrating as well. It's paintings of lavender, which I've been doing in my bullet journal this week, and I wish I'd seen this first. But next week when I do my bullet journal, I'm going to be trying out some of these examples of how to draw lavender. So we've got close-ups here, and we've also got a demonstration of how to draw a field of lavender. So I'll have a think about which of those I want to use. What I think I want to do today is just those flat washes for my fences. Now, I don't have a very tiny flat brush because I thought it would be easier to do these like fence posts with a flat brush, and that's my smallest one that I have. So I might just use, you know, artistic license and make my struts. Are they called struts? I don't know what they're called. These like bits of the fence. I will just make them slightly bigger than I've drawn them here, so that my brush will help me keep them sort of straight and such like. Okay, so what I need to do is find myself some brown paint, and thus far I've just used 4 colours: my yellow, my magenta, my ultramarine blue, and my raw umber. You could use burnt umber, it doesn't matter, just a brown. So I'm going to mix up some brown, and I think I want it a little bit of a warmer brown, so I'm just going to add some yellow to that. Or maybe it should be pink. Let's add some pink. Got a bit of pink here. Oh yeah, that's a nice warmer brown. Although it's quite red actually. Let's put a bit more of the cool brown in. You need to mix up enough colour to do all the bit that you want, otherwise it's going to be really hard to mix up the exact same shade again. Is that the right colour for a fence? Just trying to find it. I haven't got any watercolour paper handy. Let's try it on here. I think it needs to be more yellow. What do you think? Oh, that's more like a fence, isn't it? Yeah, a bit more yellow. Okay, yeah. So I'm going to paint in my fence. I'm going to start at the left, and I want to just leave a little bit of a white gap at the top of each strut. Let's give it more paint. And that one's gone a bit wobbly, but I don't think it matters, because you're just giving an impression, and the person that's looking at it will be able to work out what it's supposed to be. Hopefully. And then, oh no, that one goes Does that one go? That one goes over the top of that style, and this one goes under the style. And here, get a bit more. I want to go here, and I'm just leaving that bit of white space to be the sort of top of my fence post. And I just did exactly what I said we shouldn't do, and that is not mix up enough paint. But at least I've got enough for these kind of I don't know what you call them, planks of wood, whatever it is. So let's mix up some more. So I want some more brown. And let's just check that colour. Similar enough for me, and I'm going to do my post. Coming down. It's a bit wibbly wobbly, never mind. And I think I'm just going to do these sort of down bits. And a down bit here. And then let's make it a bit darker. Just a slightly darker shade for down here. Oops. I went well wobbly there. Now when you do that, I believe it's possible to kind of remove it with a wet brush, or at least lighten it. Let's get my wet brush again. Oh, that's turning into a nice old muddy mess. But it's okay. I can fix it, she says, hopefully. What do we think, guys? Have I ruined it? I think it'll be okay, she says, hopefully. And let's put my sign in. Painting is much trickier than you think it's going to be. Okay. Oh, and my style. I'm going to leave a little like tiny highlight on the top just to look like it's catching the sun. Okay. Going to go slightly darker for this bottom piece. I want to have dark along here. Oops. You see, I should have waited for that to dry, because now it's just all squished together. It'll be okay. Luckily, you can always add more layers, she says, hopefully. What do you think, people? Have I ruined it? See how negative I am? I always think I've ruined everything. I might not have. And I need some dark down here. And dark down here. Okay. And then I think you need dark at the bottom of these fence posts. In fact, that needs to be really dark under there because it would be in shadow, wouldn't it? Something's gone really wrong with that leg. I think I'm going to have to cover it in vegetation because it's looking a bit weird. Okay. Right, I'm going to let that dry and then I'm going to paint in behind the fence, if you see what I mean. So that layer's now dry and I'm going to have a go at putting in some of the grass in between the slats of the fence. I've got some bleed here where I made a bit of a mess, but I'm hoping that might actually look like shadow when it's finished. Let's see. So I'm going to mix up some green. So I'm going to just take some yellow, slightly dirty yellow. And some blue. I actually want it to be sort of a slightly more vivid green than I've had this far. So let's have a look and see what that looks like. So what I want to do is I want to have a shadow under the fence post, but a slight white gap at the top of the next one. Let's see if I can do that. I want a very big white gap. Oh yeah, something like that is exactly what I was trying to achieve. I'm really surprised that worked. I'm beginning to see now why it can be useful to have different brushes, because sometimes you might find a brush that just does exactly the job that you're after because of its size. I don't think I've done enough paint, but never mind. I don't want green here because that's going to be my path. Let's put some here. Now here I do want it to go a bit darker because it's kind of in shadow. That's gone so wobbly. Never mind. And the next one. Do keep sending me your updates on your paintings. Really love seeing them. Especially cool when they're better than mine. Although that's a bit of a value judgment, isn't it? Who's to say what's good, what's bad? I don't know. The art establishment of which I'm not a member. Now there's going to be some green here, so I want to mix up some more green. And I want this even more sort of vivid, really, a bit more yellow. And then I want to just drop in some slightly different shades of green, just to add some interest. Let's put a bit more blue. And then the next thing I want to work on is my path, I think. Obviously I'm going to be adding some hedgerows and things like that, and trees and all kinds of things. But let's have a little look at this path. Now I want this path to be like a yellow ochre colour, sort of like a sandy brown, not the same colour as the fencing. So I want it to be a bit cooler. So I'm going to start with my brown. And if you're using a warm brown, you might want to add a bit of blue if you want the same colour as me. Or you can choose whatever colour you want, your path. And then I want to add some yellow to that, I think, to try and get more of a... Ooh. That looks a bit green. Let's try more yellow. Let's see what colour I've got. Yeah, that's like a yellow ochre colour, like a dirty yellow colour. I'm going to put that as my first layer and see how it goes. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is start on the path, and I'm going to start on this end because this is closest to the viewer, so I want this to be the darkest part of the path. And I'm sort of painting around the shapes here so I can hopefully get the kind of shape I want. I've gone over the leg because it was a bit peculiar. I need to work on that leg, it looks a bit odd. And I'm hoping, because I'm mixing all of the colours that I'm using, oh, put it in the wrong one, because I'm mixing all of the colours I'm using from the same 3 or 4 colours. I'm using 4 colours. They'll look nice together. We'll see. Right. And I want a bit in here. Oops. I'm just doing how I did with the green, trying to have the shadow at the top underneath the fence posts. I'm just trying to lift a bit of that off where I've gone over the top of the brown. And now I want to fade that out, so I'm going to use some of that colour but with more water. Which might cause a bit of a back run here. We'll see, but I don't think it's going to matter because it's a path, yeah, so it's going to look patchy. Eventually I'm going to want it to look patchy. I want to fade it out. And even more. Okay. I don't want to do too much in this video, otherwise it will get really long. I want to add a little bit of a shadow on my signpost because I saw in this magazine that there was a bit of a shadow. I don't know if that's a detail I should add now or later, but let's put it in now. There we go. And I think I want to just slightly darken up this post down here. And I'm trying to give those horizontal bars the look that they're attached by just slightly going around them. Okay, and then the last thing I want to do before I go today is just do a really pale first wash on my tree trunk. So I'm going to go down here. And a little tiny bit darker. I might run with the green, but I don't think that matters. Just the first wash, ready for later when I want to do my tree. So I'm doing both sort of sides and the bottom, but then I want to have that really faded out in the middle. Probably a bit more than that. Okay, I'm going to try and take some of that off by damping my brush and coming down the middle. So I've cleaned my brush, dried it, trying to take some of it off because I wanted it paler in the middle and it didn't quite work. Oh, that's better. Okay. And a slightly darker one right in the edge. And hopefully that will just run in. And then obviously I'll be adding detail to make it look like bark, hopefully. All I've done is sort of roughed in the colours and shapes, and now I get the fun part, which for me, I find it the fun part is working on all the little details because that's what I enjoy the most. So thank you so much for following along with me, and do continue to send me photos of your watercolour paintings as we learn together, and I will see you again soon. Bye.